Welcome to this new episode of the Alex Show TV. It's episode 375 from November the 22nd of the year 2024. Today's a Friday. And today's show, as we continue with the amazing life and work of Dr. Jacobo Greenberg, we're going to see this very interesting subject on the lattice and the synergic theory. The synergic theory is part, I think, is the core part of Dr. Greenberg's work, particularly after he met Mexican healer shaman Pachita in the 1970s. And he shifted from this approach of using the scientific method to try to explain everything to science, everything to repetition, everything to reproducibility, and shifting to this paradigm that we don't need to understand things, we don't need to explain things. Things sometimes they just are, like with nature. Okay, we see the process of nature, and sometimes we just don't understand them, but they happen. Okay, and they are not equal and reproducible and symmetric like we want science to be. Like we do A plus B equals C. It's going to be that answer 2 plus 2 equals 4 all the time, all the time. Dr. Greenberg went away from that after he met Pachita, that I think shifted his mind from the idea that everything has to be explainable to the idea that we can release ourselves to the powers of the universe, of the everything, of the unity consciousness, what he called the lattice, and just let ourselves go without the need to be explaining it all the time. Because we have two support videos, two support clips, let's call it like that, from the same support video, which is always, I include the link on the video description. My suggestion is go and look for it and watch it entirely. It's 10 minutes. I believe the two clips in summation is like 5 overall minutes. So this explains very well. It's the best support video I could find that explains the concept of the lattice and the synergic theory of Dr. Jacobo Greenberg. Let's watch the first part together.
Part of the synergic theory are the novel concepts it introduces, which are necessary to understand the model. The lattice is the fundamental structure of space, a hyper-complex energy network or matrix of absolute coherence and total symmetry. It is reality as it is, without the filter of our mind, senses, or perception. It is all of space containing everything at the same time, making space-time one and the same. The lattice remains completely invisible until some portion of it alters its state of coherence. Any material object is actually an unrepeatable organization of the lattice's structure. Outside of it, there is no lattice, no objects, no temporal alterations. It is only when the lattice changes its structure that time passes and objects appear. The human brain is a hyper-complex structure similar in structure to the lattice but much smaller and more limited. By receiving and interpreting information from the lattice through the senses, it alters the lattice and creates its own reality. This alteration of the lattice begins in the human brain and affects all dimensions of space. That is, we perceive it, and our actions have effects on everything we perceive and interpret from the universe. This alteration that we perceive as reality is called the neuronal field. Similarly, the human brain works with energy and vibrations within sensory bands and consciousness bands, which are energy and vibrational levels that determine the way we see and interpret the world. In the lattice, there are synergic bands similar to the sensory and consciousness bands found in the human brain. The synergic bands of the lattice interact with the brain's consciousness bands of the same vibration and energy, thus changing our interaction and perception depending on the energy level of our bands. In other words, when we vibrate high and our energy is high, the lattice will modify in a similar way, and we will manifest good vibes, good things, and pleasant experiences. Conversely, when we vibrate low, discomfort, bad feelings, and other undesirable things manifest in our lives. At this point, we can begin to see the use and importance of the synergic theory. If one could consciously change the vibration and energy of the sensory or consciousness bands of the brain, one could then connect and interact with synergic bands of the lattice of the same vibration and energy, thus being able to manifest, materialize, or change the present reality. In the case of individuals who can change their consciousness band to one of very high vibration and energy, the manifestations in their reality could be colossal, unimaginable, and incredible. This would explain Pachita's materializations or Don Lucio's control.
Okay, that's the first clip of the two. That support video, complete, the 10 minutes is amazing. And we go here with this theory and how the brain plays a part in this. And I know I've been kind of demoting or, criticizing the brain a lot. I criticize when the brain wants to become the boss, okay? So I'm gonna use here an analogy of like a computer. A computer could do wonderful things when it's used in a positive way, when it doesn't have any control mechanisms like a virus or a Trojan or something like that. But a computer that is controlled by this virus, by this Trojan, can become a weapon and can fight against its own master in a way, of the owner of that computer, or can go and actually try, for example, to steal information from the master in this case, or from others, and become kind of weapon, attack other computers, steal information from the same network, all of these things. This, for me, is the best analogy I can give you about the mind. When the mind is used properly, when the mind is not trying to control, when the mind is totally free and open to operate as the beautiful tool that it is perfectly fine. Use your mind all you want, like Dr. Greenberg certainly did. Okay, it was actually through the power of his mind that he was actually he was able to get to this level of consciousness, this extremely high level of consciousness, which I believe, and I'm going to share it in a week on Fridays. Next Friday is the 29th show on the disappearance of Dr. Greenberg, that I'm going to share my theory that is probably in the minority, that he willingly disappeared from this reality because he was at that moment, he could dematerialize his body and make it rematerialize in another reality, in another dimension. Yes, he was at that level, okay? But it was through the power of not allowing his mind to be the boss, if not allowing his mind to control him, not allowing his mind having this virus, this controlling, this egoic mind, as we call it, of wanting control, of wanting desires, of making stories, like my good friend Tony from London says all the time. The mind is making stories. That's when the mind is working against you. That's when the mind has a virus. That's when the mind wants to become the boss and make the stories and try to feed you how you should feel, try to feed you how you should behave, try to feed you how you should be at, for example, in social or family relationships. Oh, this person did this to you, or this person is thinking that, or this person is saying that, or this person hasn't called you, so maybe he or she is upset. That's all the mind making stories that are not there, okay? But when the mind is used purposely, when it behaves, it's very difficult to do. Because I believe, whoever is controlling this reality has this information, okay? That's why the idea of an abduction, because Dr. Greenberg had this privy information, I don't buy it, even from aliens or from people in this reality. This information is well known and has been well known for thousands of years. So the controllers of this reality, how are they gonna prevent you from accessing this level, these high levels of mind consciousness, of mind control? By poisoning our minds with program, okay? So that programming is like a filter that doesn't allow us to get there. Until we remove that programming and we make the conscious effort to control our minds, is when we're able to tap into these higher levels of consciousness. And as the support video was saying, when you vibrate high, when you are thinking good things, in a way, not for you, but for the everything, for the consciousness. You're not thinking on the lottery or a Ferrari or a Rolex watch, okay? That's not the law of attraction. You attract all of this beautifulness for humanity, planet Earth, the universe, everything. Just good things are gonna come, okay? I cannot explain it. When you're vibrating low, when you're upset, what I say in the last 2 minutes of the show, for hundreds of shows now, when you're in rage, when you're in fear, when you're upset, when you want justice through violence, you're going to find out those emotions doesn't serve you. Those emotions actually get your egoic mind going. As I say, they only save your egoic mind. They actually is the way that your mind tries to control you through fear, through violence, through rage, by being upset, by being belligerent, by wanting to constantly be fighting, instead of being at peace, in love, in the moment, in the present moment, by trying just to be yourself, by letting yourself go. Okay, Dr. Greenberg let himself go to the consciousness. Yes, he called it the lattice. For me, it's just words. It has been called so many things. It's source, it's the everything, it's the oneness, it's the same thing. Okay, so we don't go long here on this very short Friday episode. Let's watch the second clip of this great support video. I'm going to give you my final thoughts on the lattice and the trajectory of Dr. Greenberg.
Even more interesting is that this is the same concept that other millennia-old philosophies already handled, but with different words. This is the matrix, the Maya, the veil of Isis, the illusion. If that weren't enough, the Syntergic theory not only explains the matrix and the Maya, but also explains what is popularly known as the law of attraction, making it clear that to manifest, it is only necessary to change to a higher vibration Syntergic band. As we can see, Jacobo Grinberg's Syntergic theory is not only interesting, but with it, we can explain many philosophies, realities, and phenomena, some hidden like extraocular vision, and others very popular like the law of attraction. We could also explain the ancient principles of the Kybalion, such as the universe is mental, as above, so below, the all-in-all, to name a few examples. Jacobo Grinberg had reached high mental states, and in several of his works, he even mentions that he practiced meditation exercises to see his past lives. This phenomenon could also be explained with the Syntergic theory, considering that everything exists in the lattice and that space-time is one and the same. The possibility of affecting gravitation at will, that is levitating, a practice some yogis can achieve in their meditations, could also be explained by the Syntergic theory as a modification of energy in a neuronal field to levels unimaginable for the ordinary human, but entirely possible. Jacobo Grinberg affirmed that all people could develop unimaginable abilities over time and practice, such as healing instantly, materializing objects, or even creating their own realities. All this from the perspective of mental and spiritual development. The only requirement is to be in high vibration and develop the abilities to control, interpret, and modify the Syntergic bands of the brain to interact with the Syntergic bands of the lattice. In summary, the Syntergic theory is the model of reality that shows us that matter, as we perceive it, does not actually exist, that space and time are one and the same, and that we and the entire universe are energy interacting with each other. The reality as we perceive it is nothing more than the alteration of an energy matrix, lattice, that remains invisible. The only existing reality is the mind and pure consciousness. Therefore, the only way to perceive an absolute reality is by changing our perception and achieving enlightenment.
Okay, I know these topics are very deep, and I try my best really to digest this kind of information. The support video was extremely powerful, extremely powerful. But there's some stuff in there I want to talk about. And this notion, for example, when I share about my past lives, yes, I started with regression therapy and the typical tools. But then I kind of lost some people when I said I started doing it on my own, through dreams, through meditation, by asking for it. It will come to me just one day in the evening. Okay, I will start remembering things. I don't know where they come from. I share many times, I just wake up in the morning and there is some knowledge there, some wisdom there. I cannot explain it. I don't care to explain it. I'm not concerned about explaining it. I have accepted it. And I believe you can go into your eternal life and you don't even need to meditate, as I said. For me, meditation is a little bit overblown, especially the traditional one. I'm more into I believe in the current reality, especially if you live in a big city, your life is very convoluted. It's very difficult to be meditating all the time in the traditional Buddhist sense of the Zen state, which the primal law is, if you see the Buddha kill him, is a figurative speech that any thoughts that come to your mind, you block them, you clear them, and your mind is a clean state. Clean slate, actually, not state. Clean slate. It's empty. It's emptiness. I'm more of an idea of controlling your thoughts, of training your mind, of letting it know you're not into the programming anymore, that you're not going to accept the programming anymore. That, hey, mind, I know you're going to start building stories. I know you're going to try to get me into fear, into rage, into violence, into suppression. I know you're going to try to tell me how things are. I know you're going to tell me how I'm wrong and you're right. I know you're going to try to explain me how things have to make sense, that I'm basically an idiot, or, just to think these ideas. You're basically, this is idiocy, this is something that doesn't happen. I know all that. So that's the control of the mind. And that's a daily process, by the way. That's a daily process. I start in the morning, I'm perfect. As the day goes by, I need to continuously be doing it. So I don't think that's going to change until the day I pass on this reality, okay? The mind is just too programmed. I don't want to say too poisoned. That's a negative. Just let's call it, it's too into its ways. It has a virus that you cannot take away. You can control it, yes. You cannot take it away. You cannot clean it, okay? Because again, it's beautiful to be in the Zen state, yes. But how do you operate in that state? It's very difficult, okay? In this reality that we all have to go to a job or go to school or just operate socially, family groups, all that, okay? It will be impossible for me to do this video if I was in the same state, for example. It will be impossible. I'm in a state that I'm trying to control my mind and share this message to you. I don't know if that makes sense. So for me, the lattice, it sounds like a very novel theory, but I think what the beautiful part of Dr. Greenberg is more, and that's going to be Monday show, by the way, on the Pachita, and how a scientist went to meet this shaman, that she will create organs out of thin air. Yes, by connecting to the lattice, which is the unity consciousness, which is source, which is the everything, which is the oneness. Okay, different words, okay. And he changed his ways to understand this is not going to be reproducible. This is not going to be explainable. This is not going to work through the scientific method. But this is real. So he changed. A scientist changed and understood. It's like meshing Neil deGrasse Tyson with Terrence Howard. This is something incredible for that to happen. Neil deGrasse Tyson becoming Terrence Howard. Just imagine that. Okay. He changed and he understood that there had to be something else, and he figured it out. And yes, is the voice within. As I shared on the previous show on Monday, on the first show, on the incredible story of Dr. Jacobo Greenberg, he had a saying that all the wisdom of all the universe, basically all there is inside you, in that voice that rings, that voice that inhabits you, which is the voice to the lattice, which is the voice to the everything, which is the connection you have to source. We all come from source, we all come from creation, and we all are going back to creation someday. Has Dr. Greenberg gone back? Probably. I attached to the idea he had the understanding, he had the humility, he had the beautifulness just to do whatever he wanted. And he dematerialized from this reality and went somewhere else. He's probably, as I shared, he's very fond of Andromeda, okay? Through his past life regressions, through his meditation, he figured out he came from the Andromedan system. So something tells me he's there, okay? He's there, being Jacobo Greenberg. So I hope you enjoyed this short Friday episode. We're going to continue with this topic on Monday. Basically, we have 2 more shows to go. We're going to see the life of Pachita and how she interacted with Dr. Jacobo Greenberg. And then on Friday in a week, we're going to talk about the disappearance of Jacobo Greenberg, December the 8th, year 1994. We're very close to the 30-year mark. Dr. Jacobo Greenberg disappeared in Mexico City out of thin air. All right. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back on Monday. Take care. Thank you. Thank you for making it to this part of the video. This is my favorite part. This is where I suggest to you that you discover your true self. You are not what you have been groomed to believe. You are this incredible being without limits that has eternal life, amazing strength, infinite wisdom, and a big, beautiful heart. All your limits are always self-imposed. Your best version in this reality is inside you. Your only mission on this life is to become a beacon of love and to serve others. This version is ready to be discovered today. How do you discover your true self? The discovery process is a personal one. No one can do it for you. Dedicate 5 minutes a day to talk to the universe. Simply ask, who am I? Where do I come from? What is my purpose? You will start getting signs, breakthroughs, and signals. You will notice how your notions about this reality start disappearing. No more hierarchies, no more competition, no more complaining, no more depending on others. Discovering your true self equals to real freedom. Your self-imposed limits will fall and you will be ready to understand this reality, but you must be patient to allow others to wake up at their time through their own free will. That will be really soon, you will see, and that will set up a new world. As you work towards your best version, you will notice how all emotions don't serve you anymore. Hate, fear, rage, pride, lust, envy, violence, justice through violence, judgment of others, and other emotions will disappear from your mind and heart. You will understand those emotions serve only your egoic mind and are not you. Please try to be understanding of others that don't think or feel like you. Everyone has a process. No one is right or wrong. We're all just different. Don't be concerned about being right, ever. Don't allow pride preventing you from patching things up with family and friends. It is very important you enjoy this life with your loved ones. Put in the work to patch things up and leave it to others to decide. Thank you very much for watching. Please share, like, and subscribe. If you have any comments or suggestions, please use the comment section below. For private questions, conversations, and if you would like to appear on the show, please email me at hey@thealexshow.tv. Thank you again. Please don't forget to visit our website www.thealexshow.tv. By giving me your time, you honor me. Have a very, very, very nice day.